In today's video, I'll be taking a look at old school RuneScape, updating myself on what's new, checking out any changes, and seeing if it's still worth playing in 2025. I've personally been a RuneScape player for a massive amount of time, and I've still already have a veteran cape on one of my RS3 accounts. However, I've not really touched OSRS since it got released from its backup quite a few years ago. Considering that OSRS has been absolutely blowing up in recent months, with over 240,000 concurrent players, it's safe to say that the game is nowhere near close to dying anytime soon. This huge boost in player numbers can be in part attributed to many World of Warcraft creators switching to OSRS and bringing their communities with them, as well as the launch of new content, new skills like sailing being added, new quests, bosses, and of course the addition of a mobile client for the players on the go. This has brought the game to the eyes of an absolutely new audience that might never have even considered playing a game such as this, which is why I believe this is a pretty good time to check the game out for myself and share some thoughts. But before we start, I'd like to add that for the recording of the video, I'm gonna be using RuneLite, a free community-made client that's used by the majority of OSRS players due to all the added benefits it offers and the farm of plugins that are about as plentiful as Oreo flavors. It comes with the quality of life options like GPU rendering to help graphics look more modern and kinda stylized, a skybox for more atmosphere, smooth animations, larger render distance, and dozens of other quality of life plugins that make the gaming experience far more enjoyable. Now, let's jump into the game. From the moment I logged in, the nostalgia hit me. The iconic music, the character creation screen, it all instantly transported me back to my school days many years ago, something that RuneScape 3 has been struggling with doing. After creating my character, I was dropped into Tutorial Island, which has seen some updates over the years. I learned the basics like cooking my first shrimp, chopping my first tree, and so on. This is also where I chose to play as a hardcore Ironman, meaning no trading, no grind exchange, and only one life. If I die, that's it. My hardcore status is gone. It's the ultimate earn everything yourself challenge. Normally, I would not put such a heavy restriction on myself or others, as I tend to play games for pleasure and fun rather than making them more difficult. But in OSRS, time is not of the essence, and even if I stop and take a 5-year break, my progress will not be invalidated. I also have a lot of experience in the game itself, thus it won't be as hard as starting out with zero prior knowledge. If you're a brand new player that's never touched this game before, I highly recommend playing as a regular character. To capture the true new player experience, I'm sticking to free-to-play content at first. Most new players won't immediately grab membership, they'll want to try the game out before committing, and then maybe get the membership if they like what they see. So I started off by killing some goblins, knocking out some early quests, and upgrading my gear piece by piece. This is where RuneLite plugins really shine. The quest helper is a game changer, guiding you step by step without killing any of the fun. It basically holds your hand, telling you what items you need, if you missed anything, and even highlights what you need to click. This speeds things up so much, and being a player that did these quests multiple times in the past, I see how it would be a lifesaver later in the game. I just wish RS3 had this also. Now for the core of old school RuneScape, the quests remain some of the best in the genre. They're actually memorable, often funny, and always feel rewarding. None of them are just your typical fetch quests or orders to kill 50 wolves or pick up a bunch of random horse heads in the field. No, these are fleshed out, custom crafted, and memorable, with branching stories and difficulties for you to take on. For example, the very first quest most people do is Cook's Assistant, where you just make a cake for the Duke of Lumbridge, but later in the game you have a sequel called Recipe for Disaster, where you must complete many subquests and different stories around the entire game world, just so you could even start it. This is totally on another level from any other game out there. Furthermore, that feeling when you first get your rare drop after hours of grinding is pure dopamine, and as an Ironman when you can't just go and buy random things on the GE, it feels truly earned and like a badge of honor. Now, I've compared RuneScape 3 and OSRS, but did not explain what's the difference. Well, RS3 or RuneScape 3 is basically what RuneScape eventually turned into over years and years of development, and OSRS was brought back from an old backup that quickly grew in popularity. Here are just some comparisons between the two. There were no XP boosting events, skins, and updates to the game are voted in by the community. It also has far fewer microtransactions, basically just bonds which can be bought with in-game gold and grant players 14 days of membership, while RS3 has microtransactions everywhere. Skins, XP boosts, overpowered items, and gambling-like minigames that encourage players to spend cash for faster gains. Some dude even spent over $13,000 to get 99s in all of his skills without ever even touching them, which in my mind is just absolutely insane. Now, OSRS combat system is basically the same as it was back in the day, point and click, where RS3 had a controversial change that implemented skills, status effects, and other things that were very negatively looked at. When it was first introduced, the game even lost a huge number of players, so it's clear to say people disliked the change. This was a fairly failed attempt at modernizing the game to be more similar to other MMOs out there. However, it's not all doom and gloom, since the mining and smithing skills also had a rework and are genuinely fun and engaging to work on. The UI in RuneScape 3 is also a lot more complicated, hard to navigate, and hides menus within menus that people might not even ever use. Where OSRS is essentially the same as it was back in the day, clean, clear, and easy to navigate. And finally, OSRS has a higher popularity by a wide margin. For example, you can find dozens and dozens of top-tier creators making videos on YouTube or streaming on Twitch, while RS3 is mostly dead in this space and only has a handful of content that's being consistently published. So why does this game last for so long? Well, OSRS has an insane long-term value. The items you collect never become useless, accounts never get wiped, and even after 10 years away, your progress is still there waiting. It's also one of the most versatile games you can play. AFK in your second monitor while you watch YouTube, or go full focus on boss fights, raids, or group activities. The community is also fantastic, and people are really friendly. If you're just skilling, there's a high chance you have people to talk to the whole way there. When I started this account, I even suggested one mid-level player to give his unneeded mithril armor to a group of players I was previously fishing with in lumbered swamps, and he came back 10 minutes later thanking me for the suggestion, because there was a random high-level player there that gave him about 1 million GP for just being nice to the newbies. He even offered to share some with me, but I had to decline because I cannot trade. All in all, everything worked out well, and that turned into a pretty cool story to share with you guys. Now, if you play for a day or two, you might start considering to get membership yourself. Well, if you do get it, the game expands massively. Hundreds of quests, unique bosses, new skills, better gold mething methods, new armors and weapons, new stories to experience, and huge areas to explore. 2025 even brings the sailing skill, a completely new way to experience Gielinor. What about the typical pros and cons I tend to do at the end of my videos? Well, here are a few of the ones I can really think of. Starting with the pros. Old school RuneScape offers deep character progression with tons of skills and multiple playstyles. You can be a PvMer, PvPer, general skiller, quest farmer, or focus on self-sufficiency as an Ironman. You can even do group Ironman with friends where you are able to trade between the friends themselves but no one else in the world. You also get an amazing top tier quest design, absolute best in the MMO genre. The game also offers long-term account value with no gear obsolescence. I can't think of any other game where you can take a multi-year break and come back just as well armed as you were in the past. There's a huge and active community, endless guides to help both new and old players get their foothold in the world. It's free to try with no commitment needed, and if you ever do decide that you need membership, you can always get them by using bonds, which can be bought by in-game gold. And finally, it is the perfect game for both AFK and active play. You can watch a movie and chop trees, or put full attention and beat some bosses. It's all up to you. And now for the cons. This was rather hard to think of, but I think the learning curve for games like this is rather steep. However, with all the guides and tips out there, it should not be a huge problem for most. XP rates are rather slow, and most skills are a grind to do. So if you're not that kind of player that likes this, RS3 might be a better option as it offers various double XP weekends and other benefits. Lastly, free-to-play content is fairly limited compared to what you unlock as a member. However, this is hardly a huge issue considering the price and long-term value you're getting. But that's it for the video. What are your personal thoughts on OSRS in 2025? And is this a game you actually play yourself? How does it compare to other MMOs out there? Feel free to drop your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, likes are appreciated and social media is down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.